Just first of all, thanks for joining. We're excited to see how many people are interested in this integrations webinar. My name's Aubrey, and I'm the product marketing manager at Hubstaff. And I'm going to just try to keep things running today alongside Cody. He's our chief product officer, and then our two presenters, Aurora and Cassia. And we'll move quickly because we have a lot to cover. But any questions you have, add them into the Q&A. So we're all chatting right now in the chat, but the Q&A is where we'll go to find our questions for the question and answer sessions. So add in your questions there, and then we'll answer them for you as we go. And we'll kick things off with a poll. You should see that poll up on your screen. And we're just curious, what are your most used integrations? Before we start talking about it, wanted to see that. Looks like task management and payroll are pretty neck and neck. Communication platforms. Oh, okay. Looks like payroll kind of winning out there. And Aurora is going to talk about task management. She's going to talk about also the email integration. And then Cassia is going to talk about our payroll. So I'll end this poll for now, and I'll hand things over to you, Aurora.
All right. Well, thank you so much, Aubrey. Thank you, everybody, for joining. Hello. My name is Aurora, and I'm part of the customer success team. And I'm going to be walking you through how a few of our integrations can help streamline your workflows and help improve productivity. And at Hubstaff, we know that teams rely on a multitude of tools to stay organized. That's why we've built seamless integrations with platforms like Jira, GitHub, and Asana to help you track tasks and manage projects efficiently. These integrations allow you to link Hubstaff time tracking with your project management system, ensuring that work is accurately logged and progress is easy to understand. So we're going to take a quick look at how each integration supports your workflow very quickly. So starting things off with Jira, you can track time directly onto Jira issues and link work logs for better sprint planning. Here's what the interface looks like on the Hubstaff side of things. Similarly, for GitHub, you can monitor development progress by linking commits and pull requests to track time. And lastly, in our examples today, we have Asana. And with Asana, you can sync tasks and projects automatically, ensuring accurate time tracking on assigned work. We're going to dive a little bit deeper into the Asana integration and how to set it up. And the goal here is to make sure that your Asana projects and tasks seamlessly sync with Hubstaff, allowing your team to track time against specific work items. The setup process is very simple, and it involves 3 key steps, as you can see on the screen. That's going to be authentication, project syncing, and adding users. And here's how it works. So I'm navigating to a staging account to show you how easy it is to set up the integration. So to begin, we'll go to our integrations page, which is on your menu on the left, down on the settings section, select integrations. And when we scroll down, we have all of our integrations. I'm going to click on connect with Asana, and this is going to take me to the authentication page, which usually would require that you enter your credentials, including your email that you have with your Asana account, as well as your password. But the system is recognizing that I have previously set it up, so that page is unfortunately not showing. However, once you authenticate, you're going to choose your workspace for Asana, and then move on to the syncing projects part of the process. Once we're here, any projects that you have created in Asana that are linked to your account are going to be listed. As you can see, the first thing that's going to happen is going to tell you this is how many projects we recognize you have. In my case, is 4 of them. And let me show you, because here I have my Asana page. I have indeed 4 projects created with very creative names for this webinar. And when I go back to the syncing projects stage, I can choose to sync them all, or I can select from a list. So just for the sake of showing you how it looks like, I'll click on select from list. And here I can decide which projects I want to link or which ones I want to leave out, depending on which ones I'm interested in my team tracking time towards. Then I move on to the final stage, which would be adding users. And in here, I can decide which users are giving access to tracking time towards those projects. And then I would just click on finish. Very easy. Once it is synced and integrated, you can see all of the projects that belong to the integration. You can see the users on this tab, as well as getting access to some simple settings in here. Excellent. Once the integration is connected to and the projects are linked, these will be available to be selected from the desktop app, as you can see here on the left. And that way your users can track time towards them. With this integration, you are going to eliminate manual time tracking, ensure that project hours align with real-time work, and make your life generally easier. So now we are moving on to another powerful integration, Google Calendar. Because beyond time tracking and task tracking, Hubstaff can help teams capture meeting data effortlessly using the Google Calendar integration available with our Insights add-on. This is what you can see here on the right side. This is especially useful for tracking how much time is spent in client meetings, internal check-ins, or strategy sessions. And we categorize these meetings as recurring versus non-recurring to give you a better understanding of meeting time distribution as well as workload. This is how it works. Once you get connected, Hubstaff automatically pulls meeting events from your Google Calendar, and Hubstaff Insights feature provides a breakdown of time spent in meetings versus total working time, as you can see in here. And as you can also observe from this image, which is a personal example from my Insights page, I had 34 meetings the month of November, which amounted to 12% of my total work time. You can also observe the chart breakdown of recurring versus non-recurring meetings and which days of the week were the most meeting heavy of the month, which in my case was Wednesdays. Moreover, when we click on the top right more details button, we can indeed access more information related to this data, including how much of the time was spent on external versus internal meetings, what percentage of meetings and amount of time included 3 or more participants, and which times of the day are the most meeting heavy. This integration ensures not only that you have visibility into how time is allocated, but also into productivity and workload distribution. And since we're talking about an integration that is included within our Insights add-on, I also wanted to take this chance to chat, to offer a glimpse into 2 improvements we have made to Insights, which for those of you not familiar with it, it's our workforce analytics feature, which uses the activity being input to compile and present data, grouping it, following different focuses and presenting it in widgets. So the information is very easy to visualize and digest. One of the improvements we have made is to our unusual activity detection. As you can see on the slide, these are the types of unusual activity instances we surface, and some of them were already available, such as suspicious application or unusually high activity, but we have also now included unusually consistent activity, sustained high focus time, and breakless work. We have also made further changes by introducing the confidence score, and we're going to take a look at that and see how it works. So in here, you can see a demo capture of our unusual activity page, which, as you can see, is currently showing instances captured between February 3rd and February 16th, and it then counts the amount of members listed, 11 in this case, and the amount of instances captured, 21, and the total amount of time all of these instances combined amount to. We have the list of members below with the total amount of time each of them have had capture as unusual, and then we see the previous 60 days column, which compares the total time of the time period selection to the previous 60 days compounded, excluding the current selection. And then we have the confidence score column, which assigns a value, high, medium, or low, to the instance depending on its deviation from average work metrics. These scores are going to be really helpful for managers to prioritize investigations. Now, the way that the confidence score works is as follows. If we have given a high confidence score, it means that the activity is likely involving some dishonesty, some dishonest work practices due to its rarity of the observed metrics that we have in here. Medium confidence score means that the activity may involve dishonest time tracking practices, and a low confidence is awarded to activities that could involve dishonest work or simply be normal work, but it's still worth of an investigation. Of course, any of these on their own don't necessarily indicate that something fraudulent is afoot, and further investigation is encouraged and needed. If we click on view next to any of these members listed instances, we also get further information, including the reasons why the score was given. And if we scroll down further, we will also be able to see the time-stamped instances and access additional data that is more specific. So we would see this if we scroll down. And if we click on view on any of these, we would receive additional information as well. You can see that on the screen now. This is similar to the information that was presented before this improvement. So you will be able to see the moment that triggered the unusual activity recognition, the breakdown between the 2 activity inputs, mouse and keyboard, right here, the overall activity percentage, and any associated screenshots, as well as a list of applications and URLs when this recognition is enabled. And now we are going to also see what's different for smart notifications. And with smart notifications on Insights, you can set up alerts that will be triggered by certain defined parameters. We have now expanded the number of templates we provide you with, further enhancing efficiency. You can see some of those in here, and you can set these notifications to be notified of instances such as members using AI websites or social media sites, as well as members with unproductive work time. I think many of these have been highly requested from our customers, so they are now available to you. And something else that's new now as well is that the notification rules allow you to select time spent on application or URL as a metric. And there's a list of applications and URLs that you can attach to the notification to be informed when there's a specified use time for that particular application or URL. So I hope you see the value in this feature enhancements, and do keep bringing your feedback to us, because we really thrive on it and we really listen to you. So to wrap up, integrating Hubstaff with tools like Jira, GitHub, and Asana, as well as Google Calendar, ensures that all your track time is meaningful and connected to the actual work being done. And this eliminates manual data entry, improves accuracy, and helps teams stay on top of their projects effortlessly. If you have any questions, feel free to drop them in the chat or reach out after the webinar. We will get to you as soon as possible. And with that, I'll pass it back to you, Aubrey. Thank you.
Thanks, Aurora. And yeah, we will be sharing this recording and also our support documents that walk you through the step-by-step of setting these integrations up afterwards as well. Cody, do we have a couple of QA questions to go over?
Yeah, we had a few. One of them I thought was interesting was just about the link. I think it's a common question, people asking about the linking. So, Aurora, you showed setting it up, which is pretty simple, but how do you, I think the question is basically, how do you see that the timing of the linking? How do you know when it's linked? If you add a new project, how long does it take? Can you unlink a project that you've created in Asana? Just maybe cover that quickly.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can certainly link and unlink projects. Anything that has been linked can be unlinked. Better said, sorry for the confusion in there. And you would do that simply from the project management page. If anybody has specific questions about this, I'm happy to answer them later on as well, showing maybe a video and whatnot. And then how often it syncs, it depends on the settings page that I showed on the application, sorry, on the integration page. It allows you to decide whether you want the time to sync on completion of the time tracked, or whether you want to do it with delayed every hour. I think there's another parameter that I have right here, so I'm not going to blank. Let me tell you right now: daily, hourly, delayed, or on complete. So that's how often it can sync the time.
Okay, great. Yeah, a few other questions. Let me see if there's another one. One thing I'll mention, because someone asked about Hubstaff tasks, and it is included in most of the plans that we have. And it's a pretty simple project management tool. It's really great for small teams. We actually used it here for a really long time at Hubstaff. And so it's another integration. It works very well because, we built it. And so it works very similar to Asana. But I just thought I'd mention that one because somebody did ask about it. I think those are most of the general integration questions that have come through. Linking, unlinking. So yeah, I think we could probably keep going.
Yeah, I'll kick it over to you, Cassia.
Perfect. Okay, great. Hey, everyone. I'm Cassia. I'm a product manager here at Hubstaff. So what I'll do is I'll move on to our payment integrations. So essentially the different ways that you can pay your team. So those of you familiar with Hubstaff, what we do really well is we help enable global work. So essentially we make it easier for teams to work together. We provide productivity metrics, time tracking data, scheduling features, help you manage time off, and all of that. So what we also do, and what I wanted to highlight for you today, is we also allow you to pay your team for those hours worked in a really quick and easy way. And that's really the next step in the process. Your teams track time, and then you need to pay them for the time that they work. So this will really help you with your payments workflow, save you time, and there are a couple of payment integrations. Today I'll cover two of our most popular ones, Wise and Deel. So these integrations can be set up in just a few minutes, really in a similar way that Aurora shared with that really simple 3-step wizard. And let's cover Wise first. So you'll notice that the first step is to come onto your integrations page and connect to Wise. What you'll do there is you'll make sure that your Wise business account is synced with Hubstaff. And really the goal here is just to make sure that the data is syncing back and forth. And here's what the setup wizard looks like. Once that is synced, you'll also just want to make sure that that Wise business account is funded so that you have actually money in there to pay your team when the time comes. So that's just something to note. And the really nice thing about this is then you can also, once it's set up, either choose in the wizard who from your team you would like to add to this integration, or you can do that after the integration is set up. And I'll talk a little bit more about that now. So perhaps you want your whole team to be paid through the Wise integration, or maybe it's just a subset of your team. So you really have that flexibility. So in here, you'd come onto the Manage Payroll page and you would say, add members to payroll, select Wise, and then you'd have this dialog. So you have two options. Really the difference here is if you know the Wise credentials for your team, and that would be their Wise email, their Wise name, and their Wise currency, then you're able to fill this in yourself and set them up for the Wise integration. Also, the caveat being that obviously for them to receive funds through the Wise integration, they need to have Wise accounts set up on their end, which they can do very quickly through Wise in just a few minutes as well. So if you have that information, then you can set them up this way. If you don't, and you prefer that they add their Wise email, Wise name, and Wise currency, you can toggle on send invites, which will essentially send your team a little prompt to fill in these details themselves in Hubstaff. So you really have both options there, whatever works better for you. All right, the other nice thing I'll note here is that you're able to send funds in whatever your Wise business account is set up in. So let's say in USD, and let's say you have a team, an international team, and they want to receive funds in whatever their home currency is. It's flexible enough that you can send funds in USD and they can receive in, let's say, PHP, for example, or Canadian dollars. So again, that flexibility exists, and a lot of our customers do that exact thing. Okay, so now I'll show you a couple of other just key features related to payments that I'd like to highlight for you. So something that a lot of our customers do is they come in here and take advantage of the member profiles. So you'll notice that the People tab on the sidebar opens into the member profile, and you have a Bill and Pay tab. Within here, you can manage the pay rates. You can also manage the pay periods. So this is really how often your team gets paid, and you can decide if you want to require timesheet approvals. That part I'll touch on in just a little bit, and that's actually a really nice feature a lot of our customers use. It has a kind of extra approval process to approve some of the hours worked. Okay, so knowing that you can update this information here, we'll also go on just to show some of the settings that you'll want to know about if you're using our payroll integrations. So you have the option, and this again is in your org settings in payment section, to choose whether you want to send payments manually or automatically. I'll quickly cover the difference. So manually simply means that it requires you to take an action before paying your team. And really that will just be clicking a button that says create payment whenever the time comes that you wish to pay your team. And then again, if it's connected through Wise, that will send the trigger to Wise to actually send the payment. So that's option one. Option two is you can set this to happen automatically. So at the end of your pay period, you can have this automatically happen. And you also have the option, if you wish, to delay the payroll. So let's say at the end of the pay period, you prefer to wait maybe 2 days to get organized. Maybe you're adding adjustments or you need a few more days to approve timesheets. You can certainly do that. So just highlighting the flexibility there to really make it work for your needs. Okay, let's talk a little bit about the difference between the pay for hours and the approved timesheets. So again, your Wise integration is set up and you have your team, all ready to be paid through the Wise integration. Option one is you can pay your team for hours worked. And this is different than the timesheet approvals, which I'll cover in a minute. So a lot of our customers who use this simply go in and let's say it's the 15th of the month and that's when you need to pay your team. You would set the date range from, let's say, the 1st to the 15th, which would collect all the hours tracked during that time period. You'd select everything you want to pay, and then you'd click create payment on the right. So that works really well for those that simply just want to pay for hours worked, and they do it that way. The other option I'll mention, which we touched on a little earlier, is the concept of timesheet approvals. And so this adds sort of an extra layer of approval. Let's say that you want to review all of the hours worked for your team during a certain pay period. And once those hours are approved, then you want to pay them for those hours. This is the perfect solution for you. You'll be able to come in here and actually just see the time tracked on those approved timesheets and then pay those timesheets. So, whatever works best for your team and your workflow, we have it covered. So those are just two things to kind of consider if you're considering one of the payroll integrations. Okay, so another thing I wanted to highlight for you, which is brand new, so some of you may have tried this, some of you may not have yet, is called payroll adjustments. And this has been long requested. And essentially what this is you're able to add either a addition, for example, a bonus. Let's say you give people an extra amount of money for a cell phone bill or transit costs, what have you, every time payroll runs. You're able to easily add that as a payroll adjustment and then select who from your team should get this adjustment when payroll runs. So that's really nice because it saves you time in having to kind of minimize those manual adjustments when you're running payroll. And then we also have a deduction. So let's say every time payroll runs or once a month, you need to take off a certain amount for insurance costs or anything that needs to get removed from the member's payment. You're able to also just have that in the system. So then that again just alleviates a lot of manual work. And these can all be managed from the payroll adjustments tab, and this works with our Wise integration. So for everyone using Wise, you're able to take advantage of this new feature. Okay, so with that, I will move over to our other integration to cover today, which is Deel. So this is another really great way to pay your team for hours worked in Hubstaff. So Deel has many contract types. At the moment, this integration works with Deel's independent contractor pay-as-you-go contract type. And we're planning to expand this further into, more and more contract types. So yeah, please drop in the chat or feel free to answer the poll in helping to explain, which contract types you use in Deel and really what you're looking for here. All right, so let's go over how you set this one up. Okay, so very similarly to the other integrations and to what you saw when Aurora set up the Asana one, you'll come in here to the integrations tab and you'll connect to Deel. And essentially you'll have that 3-step where you're just doing that authentication. And once that's done, the nice thing about it is that you can then use the timesheet approvals feature. And it's a very simple way to set up. The way that this integration works is when the timesheet is approved, so everyone on your team will have timesheets. Once those are approved, that time that's tracked on that timesheet gets sent to Deel for the payment. And so, yeah, that's super convenient because it's really kind of part of your flow already. Your team can track hours in Hubstaff. You can get all of those good productivity metrics and all of the rest, make sure they're tracking to the right projects. And then once that's done and approved, that time can be synced over to Deel for the payment. And I'll show you a bit about how that works. So one note on timesheet approvals is you can turn this on, as I mentioned, from the Pay and Bill tab, which you can do kind of one by one. But for larger teams, and you might just want to set this for everybody, which a lot of our customers do, you can easily come into the settings and just turn it on for everybody. So that also means anyone new joining your team will be set up the same way. So that's another thing we encourage organizations to do. And then you can set the pay period, and typically that's also consistent among the team. So let's say your whole team is on a weekly pay period and they have timesheet approvals on, and then you're good to go. All right. So let's go through a little bit about the process of approving the timesheet and then how the time gets synced to Deel. So typically how it works is during the period time is being tracked. At the end of that period, managers will get an email saying your team has submitted their timesheets. The period is over. Managers will go review the timesheets. Before those are approved, you'll notice that you have the sync column in the timesheet approvals page. And it says pending sync because obviously before the timesheet's been approved, it's not actually synced to Deel. It only gets synced once the time's approved. So that's normal, that you can expect to see. Once you go to approve the timesheet, you'll say, yep, these hours look good. You go to approve it. At that point, you'll notice that the status gets changed to approved, and then you'll see a little note that this time has been synced to Deel. So then you know, great, the time on this timesheet's approved by me, synced to Deel, sent over there, and that's how you'll make the payment for those hours worked. Okay, perfect. So that covers two of our more popular payment integrations, and a big focus for us is just making it easier for you to pay your team for the time worked. And so, yeah, looking forward to hearing more of your feedback, any questions you have. Really, the point here is just to save you that manual time every time payroll runs and making sure that we're making it a little easier for you to pay your team. Okay, so I'll send it back to Aubrey, who will close off the section.
Yeah, thanks, Cassia. I'm going to share too just one more poll on if you're using payroll with Hubstaff, which integration are you using? And if it's one of the others, you can feel free to drop that in the chat. And while you're doing that, I just wanted to do a quick shout out. We also have Zapier. So, the integrations we're talking about here, it's just 4 or 5 of our direct integrations. But if you connect with Zapier, it does unlock an extra 1,000 integrations. So if one of your tools, I've seen people in the Q&A asking about other tools. So there's definitely a possibility that lives within Zapier and you can connect with Hubstaff that way. So it's another option for you. One other option is I'm going to drop a link into the chat with our roadmap. And in there, you're able to request integrations or features, and we'll be taking all of that into consideration. So I'll send a how-to on connecting with Zapier and a roadmap link out with the webinar recording as well. And now we have about 15 more minutes to wrap things up and do a final Q&A here. So Cody, if you want to jump off with a couple of questions.
Yeah, let me share a few. Some people had good questions. So I answered a few in here, but there's also a few that I think other people are probably wondering as well. So one is just about the Wise account. So Cass is probably a good one for you, but is there an automated process to fund the account, or is it manually need to be funded outside Hubstaff?
That's a great question. So at the moment, yes, you do need to fund it outside of Hubstaff, but what we were talking about is making that whole process a lot easier for you. So something to note is we're actively improving and taking your feedback on the whole payment process. What we'd like to do and what we want to move towards is make that connection even easier. So you'd be able to see this is approximately what the payroll will cost. This is, how much you need to fund your account by. And if we can go as far as to help you actually fund it without leaving, all of that is on our plan. But at the moment, yes, you do need to actually fund it. A lot of the time people use either they look just historically at the past pay period and they buffer a little bit. That's commonly done. So let's say your team has a 40-hour a week limit. You know how much people are working. You know what their pay rates are. You know what you paid them last time. you'll put that amount roughly, maybe with a bit of a buffer in your account. So that's commonly used. We also have a lot of different reports that summarize hours worked and costs as well. So that's another way that you can run a report and see, approximately how much you should have in your Wise account. But yes, that is something at the moment that you would do kind of external to Hubstaff.
Yeah, good question though. All right, I have another one. This one, I'm gonna put you on the spot, Cass. I had to look it up myself, so you might not know. What's the if somebody wanted to send a small amount, what's the minimum you can send if you're doing the one-time payment with Wise?
Oh yeah. I think we're pretty flexible. I think I don't know, you'll have to, I'm glad you looked it up, but I think it's pretty flexible. I don't think it's a large amount. Cody, I'll pass it back to you. Typically, people do send, maybe they're not sending $1. But one other thing I'll touch on, which actually I didn't go over, is the one-time payment feature. So that's really helpful if you want to pay your team in the middle of the pay period for anything you need. So maybe someone has an expense you need to pay them for. Maybe you need to pay them out for whatever time off they didn't use or something to that effect. You're able to really easily go into the create payments, one-time payment tab and just select the people you want to pay, select the amount, and boom, it's easily paid. And if the Wise integration set up, then that gets triggered and sent through Wise. So that makes it really easy to also manage maybe these out of cycle payments or anything else that you need to do. We definitely accommodate that as well. So that's a very popular feature. We updated it recently, so we have a CSV import. So for large teams of hundreds of people, you're able to have, everyone's name. Maybe you're paying them different amounts on the same day and just upload that CSV as well. So really trying to minimize the amount of manual work it takes you. But Cody, I'll pass it to you for the minimum amount because you know the answer.
Yeah, so it is actually, it goes down to $1, which is
I thought so. I thought
yeah,
it was $1.
yeah.
Yeah, cool.
But that was a good question. This one's also interesting. Somebody asked about the the job type. And so, especially if you're using insights, we do show, there's a little bit off integrations, but we show benchmarks based on job type. And I think they're asking the difference between job title and job type and what the difference is between those in Hubstaff and how they can edit them.
I'm assuming that question is for me.
I think, well, either one. Yeah. Who wants to take it?
Might be for me. I'm happy to take it. So job type is simply to allow you to define people who work within the same department, for example, and that's going to tie into the usage and the visualization of data and insights, because different teams are going to be using different tools, applications, and URLs. So you don't want to measure everybody by the same parameters, basically. That is something that you can find on the members list, on the details of the specific member. And once you open it, I'm just going to guide you with my voice here. I'm not going to be sharing my screen because I don't have a good example here for you. But when you open the member, when you edit it and you go to the, let me see, employment tab, you're going to be able to define both the job title and the job type. However, it is job type that is going to be the important one to make sure that you have that enhanced functionality within Insights.
Yep. Yeah, thanks. That was great. Okay, another one that was good. Can you touch on paying staff who track time but are not hourly? So yeah, this is also a common question. We have a lot of customers who have both hourly contractors and full-time employees. Right now, just paying us one-time payment each week. But I think maybe just talking about fixed payment options as well. And I think either of you, whichever one wants to take that one.
Yeah, I can touch on that. So yeah, we have either fixed amount, or hourly rates. So you can set people on your team to either. Often or a lot of the time, one team is on a fixed rate and the rest of the team is on hourly. So yes, you can pay your team your fixed rate members. You can pay them using the really either way that those fixed rate members can still use timesheet approvals. Like you can still see how much they're tracking and like review their hours and all of that stuff and still see their productivity metrics and all of that. You can pay them using the one-time payments, the CSV, which is yeah, useful as well. Or you can pay them, I think you can still pay them um, in the pay for hours, but you're paying them just a fixed amount. Yeah.
Yep. Okay, I think, let's see, there's a few, can the fixed rate vary? I think they're asking if you can change the fixed rate, but you can change it from one pay period to another. But it's fixed for the pay period that you set. And then I think
I'll add to that. There is one thing we're working on expanding further are setting the effective date. So if you do want to change a rate for somebody, which does happen, whether they're on fixed or hourly, let's say someone gets a promotion or they're getting, paid more. We have those kind of standard rates for everybody. You can also set project rates if someone's working on multiple projects and they're paid different rates per project. So you have that flexibility. And right now, when you set that kind of base rate, you're able to set an effective date. We're planning on expanding that even further, and for fixed rate members, eventually adding that level of customization, because at the moment, when you change the fixed rate, you can't actually set the effective date. So just to make it easier for you to manage changing rates for your whole team, we want to be able to give you the opportunity to set, a rate in the future, and change it according to whatever effective date you need.
Yep. Okay, we could probably do one more. There's one more good one about the timing cast. I think you kind of mentioned it, but they were asking if you're using, I think, timesheet approvals and automatic payroll, what day should timesheets be approved in order to go to payroll processing on Friday? So like what's a good day, like timing for timesheets approved? Is there a delay? Automatic payroll gets sent? Maybe just cover that real quick.
Yeah, so it also depends on what your pay period is set up as. So let's say you want to pay your team weekly, then you can set it up on a weekly basis. And you can also customize when that period starts. So that would mean that, yeah, you would pay them weekly when the timesheet is complete. When that pay period is over, you'll just need to make sure that the people approving the timesheets do so in like a timely manner. And one thing we do now is we send emails to the managers. And if you do use Teams, we're able to also send those notifications to team leads. So that's another really great feature that a lot of our bigger customers use. They are able to set up teams, assign team leads, and those team leads can just approve timesheets or time off or what have you for that team. So you'll want to make sure that they're approving those in a timely way so that they actually get paid. Because if they're not approved and you have timesheet approvals on and you're paying timesheets, that those won't be like included. And then if you do want to, it depends if you want to have that payroll delay or not. So you could easily just not have a payroll delay. So once the pay period's done, and let's say you have like a 0-day payroll delay and everything gets approved on time, then it will be sent out kind of right after they're approved. Like it will get queued. And I think it's the following day it goes out for payment.
Okay, perfect. I think those are probably the common ones. I would say to anybody else who hasn't had their question answered, we will answer it in the Q&A to you directly. Or, if you have a troubleshooting thing where I can't see, I think somebody said, I don't see the WISE integration on the page. We will follow up with you and make sure like all that gets taken care of, and we'll help everybody out individually.